You yawn. A second later, your dog yawns too. You probably think nothing of it, they're just sleepy. But there might be something far more interesting going on. That yawn may not be tiredness at all. Your dog may have caught it from you. And the question of why leads to one of the most charming and most hotly argued little mysteries in all of dog science. Some studies suggest it's a quiet sign of the bond between you. Others say it might be nothing at all. So today, we're going to do this the honest way. Here's exactly what the research shows, what it might mean, and what scientists still can't agree on. And at the end, I'll show you how to gently test it with your own dog. Let's get into it. First, let's let go of the idea that a yawn always just means tired. Because in people, yawns are famously contagious. You see someone else yawn, you read about yawning, you even just think about it, and up comes a yawn of your own. I'd honestly bet a few of you have yawned already just from me talking about it. And notice, that has very little to do with how sleepy you actually are. Contagious yawning isn't about fatigue. It's social. It spreads from one being to another. It's so powerful that simply reading the word yawn over and over is enough to make many people do it. Just how strong is that pull for you right now? And here's what caught scientists' attention. This spreading doesn't seem to politely stop at the edge of our own species. Your dog may be picking up your yawns in much the same way your friends and family do. So that little yawn right after yours might not be fatigue at all. It might be a tiny thread of connection, running invisibly between the two of you. But to understand why a dog would catch a human's yawn, we first have to ask a more basic question, one that scientists themselves still find surprisingly tricky. Why does anyone yawn in the first place? Here's something that might surprise you. Science doesn't fully, definitively know why we yawn at all. It seems like the simplest thing in the world, and yet its exact purpose is still debated. For a long time, people assumed yawning just pulls in extra oxygen when we're tired or bored, but that idea hasn't really held up under testing. One of the leading modern ideas is the brain cooling hypothesis, championed by researcher Andrew Gallup. The thinking goes like this. A big yawn, that deep inhale and wide jaw stretch, increases blood flow and draws in cooler air, helping to bring down the temperature of a slightly overheated brain, a bit like a radiator. A cooler brain runs more efficiently. And here's a genuinely astonishing, shareable fact about how deep and ancient yawning is. Human babies yawn in the womb, as early as around 11 weeks after conception, long before they're ever born and long before anyone could teach them. Yawning isn't just human, either. It's seen all across the animal kingdom, in mammals, birds, reptiles, even fish. It is one of the oldest, most universal behaviors there is. It's a clever theory, though, like much about yawning, still not the final word. And here's a useful side note specifically for dog owners. In dogs, a yawn isn't only tiredness or contagion. Dogs also yawn as a calming signal, a way to soothe themselves or diffuse tension when they feel a little stressed or unsure. So a yawn at the vet or during a tense moment may mean something quite different from a yawn on the couch. Keep that in mind. But the truly fascinating part of the yawn story is how it jumps between individuals, and the first proof that it could jump from us to our dogs. The first real piece of evidence arrived in 2008 in a study by Ramiro Jolie Mascheroni and his colleagues, published in the journal Biology Letters. The setup was beautifully simple. A researcher sat right in front of a dog and yawned openly, deliberately, repeatedly. And then, as a crucial comparison, that same researcher made other, non-yawn mouth movements, just opening and closing the mouth, no real yawn. The result genuinely surprised people. Out of 29 dogs, 21 of them yawned while watching the human yawn. That's the large majority. But here is the single most important part, the control. Not one single dog yawned at the random, non-yawn mouth movements. Zero. So this wasn't just a person did something with their face and the dog copied it. It was the yawn, specifically, that set them off. That careful control is what made the finding so striking. It was the very first scientific sign that yawn contagion, long believed to be a human, or at most a primate, thing, might actually reach across species, leaping from us straight to our dogs. And think about how unusual that is. Dogs and humans are separated by tens of millions of years of evolution, two completely different branches of the tree of life. For a social signal to leap that gap is genuinely extraordinary, and it speaks to just how many thousands of years dogs have spent living closely alongside us, learning to read us. Which immediately raised the big, irresistible question. Why? Why on earth would a dog catch a human's yawn? And the leading answer is rather beautiful. And here's a fun thought the researchers themselves raised. If a dog can catch our yawn, it seems quite likely a dog's yawn can make us yawn right back, too. Though, amusingly, no one has formally tested that yet. The contagion may well run both ways across the leash. To find the why, scientists looked at what contagious yawning seems to mean in us. In humans, the leading idea is that catching yawns is tied to empathy, to our ability to connect with and even unconsciously mirror others. And the big clue is who we catch them from. Studies show people catch yawns most easily from those they're closest to, close friends and family, and least from total strangers. The same pattern shows up in our empathetic primate cousins, like chimpanzees and gelada baboons. In chimpanzees, for instance, researchers found they caught the yawns of their own group mates far more than those of chimps they didn't know, the same in-group, closeness-driven pattern. So researchers asked the natural question, do dogs show that same telltale pattern? A 2013 study by Teresa Romero and colleagues tested it directly. Each dog watched two different people yawn, its own beloved owner, and a stranger it had never met. Now, if catching a yawn were just a meaningless automatic reflex, it shouldn't matter at all who did the yawning. But it mattered enormously. The dogs caught their owners' yawns significantly more often than the strangers. The closer the bond, the stronger the effect, exactly the empathy-linked pattern seen in humans. And the team added a clever check. They monitored the dog's heart rates the whole time and found no spike or stress response, which argued the yawning wasn't just nerves or anxiety. Put it all together, and it hinted at something genuinely lovely, that your dog may catch your yawns because it is emotionally bonded to you. But the connection runs even deeper than just watching, because your dog might not even need to see it. Here's a detail that I find genuinely delightful. We've been talking about dogs watching a yawn, but a 2012 study by Karin Silva and her team tested whether dogs could catch a yawn they could only hear, no visuals at all, just the sound. And they could. Dogs yawned in response to the sound of a human yawn alone. But the truly remarkable part is whose yawn worked best. The dogs were about 4 times more likely to yawn after hearing the yawn of a familiar person, their own owner, than the yawn of a stranger. 4 times. Even with no picture, just a sound, the bond showed through. And there's one more piece that fits this bonding story: development. A 2013 study by Elaine Madsen and Tomas Persson looked at puppies and found that very young pups didn't really show contagious yawning. The tendency seemed to emerge as they got a bit older, roughly around 7 months and up. That mirrors human children, who also don't start catching yawns until a certain age, as their social and empathy skills develop. So the picture building up here is rich and consistent, a bond-based, empathy-like phenomenon that grows with age and runs deeper with closeness. It all sounds wonderfully tidy, doesn't it? Well, here's where I have to be completely honest with you. Because this is the part most videos quietly leave out, and it's the part that, frankly, makes the science trustworthy. Not every study has found these neat results. In fact, several careful experiments have found little or no contagious yawning in dogs at all. As far back as 2009, a study by Amy Haar and colleagues tried to repeat that famous 2008 finding and simply couldn't. Other researchers have found no clear sign that dogs reliably favor a familiar person's yawn over a stranger's. And one more recent, careful study concluded outright that, in their hands, contagious yawning in dogs showed no evidence of being an empathy signal at all. So why all the conflicting results? It comes down to how fiendishly hard this is to test. The outcome seems to swing depending on the method, whether the person yawning is live in the room or shown on a screen, how long the session runs, how well the dog's attention is held, and how you even define a real yawn versus a stretch. There's even a deeper argument about what's really happening at all. Is it true emotional contagion, a kind of unconscious empathy, or just simple, automatic mimicry, the brain copying a movement it sees with no feeling behind it? Teasing those two apart in an animal that can't tell us what it feels is enormously difficult. So where does that honestly leave us? With a genuine, unsettled scientific debate. And the most truthful summary I can give you is this. Dogs probably can catch our yawns at least sometimes, and there is real, intriguing evidence pointing toward a bond-based, empathy-like explanation. But it is not proven, and very good scientists still disagree about it. And you know what? That's completely okay. Here's what we know, and here's what we don't, is the honest truth. And it's a great deal more trustworthy than a tidy, satisfying answer that just isn't real. So let's pull out what we can say for certain. So what should you actually take from all of this? Here's the part that doesn't depend on the debate at all. Whether or not the empathy link ultimately holds up, one thing is rock solid after years of research. Your dog is extraordinarily tuned into you, to your face, your voice, your movements, your moods, your whole emotional state. Dogs are arguably the most human-focused animal on the planet, constantly reading us in ways no other species does. So contagious yawning, if it's happening in your living room, is really just one more tiny, charming example of how incredibly closely your dog tracks you. A yawn quietly passing from you to your dog is a small echo of a much bigger, well-established truth. The two of you are deeply wired into each other. That's the real headline here. Not the overblown dogs definitely feel your yawns, but the genuinely lovely dogs pay so much attention to us that even our yawns may quietly ripple into them. And either way you slice it, that is a beautiful sign of just how connected you two really are. And the best part, you can go test it for yourself tonight. Want to try it with your own dog? You absolutely can, and the key is to do it gently, with zero pressure on your dog to perform. This is a fun experiment, never a test your dog can fail. So here's how to give it the best possible shot. Wait until your dog is calm, relaxed, and already looking in your direction. This won't work if it's distracted or busy. Gently get its attention, maybe with its name, and make soft eye contact. Then give a big, slow, genuine, open-mouthed yawn, and don't be shy about adding a little of that natural yawn sound, since we know the sound alone can help. And then, just watch and wait a minute or two. Some dogs will yawn right back at you, and it's a delightful little moment when it happens. But here's the important part. Many dogs simply won't react at all, and that is completely, perfectly normal. A fake, half-hearted yawn tends not to work. Remember, the research used full, real ones. It can also help to be a little tired yourself in the evening, when your own yawns come more naturally and genuinely. And don't spam it. 1 or 2 real, relaxed yawns are far better than forcing a dozen. So if your dog does catch it, enjoy that sweet flicker of connection. And if it doesn't, that tells you absolutely nothing bad about your bond. Remember, even the world's scientists get mixed results on this exact thing. It's simply a fun, harmless thing to try with a friend you love. So the next time you yawn, and your dog yawns right back at you, you'll know it may be far more than simple sleepiness, possibly a small, contagious echo of the bond running between the two of you. The science isn't fully settled yet, and honestly, that's a big part of what makes it so fascinating. There are still little mysteries left in the dog dozing at your feet. But one thing never changes. Your dog is always watching you, always tuned into you, right down to a single, quiet yawn. If you want to understand what your dog is really telling you with the real science, honest about what we know and what we don't, subscribe. Every week, we decode another behavior together. See you in the next one.